Have you ever pulled a carrot from your garden full of hope, only to find a sad, tiny, forked little thing? Or worse, one that's riddled with black tunnels from pests. It's one of the most frustrating moments in gardening. You do all the work, but your carrots look nothing like the ones in the store. What if I told you there are a few simple secrets and a handful of common, but critical mistakes that separate disappointing carrots from a harvest of huge, straight, sweet, and perfect ones? In this video, I'm not just going to give you tips. I'm going to give you a complete system to guarantee an incredible carrot crop. By the end, you'll know exactly what you've been doing wrong and how to fix it forever. So stick around because your dream carrot harvest is closer than you think. Before we dig in, let's understand why carrots can be so diva-like. Unlike a tomato or a zucchini, where the fruit grows in the open air, the business end of a carrot is happening entirely underground, hidden from sight. This means we can't see the problems until it's too late, at harvest time. The perfect carrot, long, straight, with a smooth taper and vibrant colour, is the result of a perfect underground environment. Any impedance, any nutrient imbalance, or any microscopic pest can derail the whole process. The key isn't about having a green thumb. It's about being a soil architect and a pest detective. It's about creating an unobstructed 5-star resort for that single taproot to grow downwards without any stress or competition. Most gardening advice just scratches the surface. Today, we go deep underground to understand the carrot's world. Let's start with the absolute #1 reason for failure: the soil texture. If your soil is heavy, full of clay, or compacted, you can just forget about growing long, straight carrots. It's simply not going to happen. Imagine you're a tiny, delicate carrot root tip trying to push your way down. When you hit a dense wall of clay, you don't have the strength to push through it. So what do? You turn, you twist, or you give up and send out side roots, which results in that classic forked, multi-legged carrot monster. The ideal carrot soil is a sandy loam. It's light, it's fluffy, and it's free draining. Think of the texture of beach sand mixed with rich compost. This type of soil offers zero resistance, allowing that primary taproot to grow straight down, uninterrupted, searching for water and nutrients. If you have heavy clay, you must amend it heavily with compost, peat moss, or coconut coir to break it up and improve its structure. Raised beds are a fantastic solution here because you can control the soil mix completely, filling them with the perfect fluffy blend that carrots crave. This isn't just a suggestion, it is the fundamental law of carrot growing. Even if you have beautifully textured soil, there's another hidden enemy lurking beneath the surface: debris. I'm talking about rocks, stones, old roots from previous plants, and even hard clumps of undecomposed organic matter. A carrot root is surprisingly sensitive. When its downward journey is interrupted by even a small pebble, it will react. It might fork into 2 smaller roots to go around the obstacle, or it might become stunted and deformed. This is why meticulous soil preparation is non-negotiable. You need to become a soil detective and clear the top 12 to 16 inches of all potential obstructions. The best way to do this is to use a garden fork to loosen the soil deeply, then go over it with a hard rake, pulling out any stones or debris you find. For the absolute best results, especially if you're aiming for those perfectly uniform, show-quality carrots, consider sifting the soil through a 1/2-inch hardware cloth screen. It sounds like a lot of work, and it is, but this single step removes all guesswork and ensures that your carrots have a completely clear runway to grow to their full potential. One afternoon of thorough prep work will pay off with a massive harvest of flawless carrots. Now let's talk about a topic that many gardeners obsess over, perhaps a little too much: soil pH. You'll often hear that you need a very specific pH level to grow great carrots, but let's debunk this myth a bit. While carrots do prefer a slightly acidic to neutral soil, typically in the range of 6.0 to 6.8, they are actually quite adaptable. Chasing a perfect pH number with endless amendments is often a waste of time and money, especially when other factors are far more critical. The truth is, if your soil is full of organic matter, has a loose texture, and is free of debris, the carrots will likely be happy even if the pH is a little outside that perfect window. The bigger issue is that extreme pH levels, either very acidic or very alkaline, can lock up essential nutrients in the soil, making them unavailable to the plant. So, a simple soil test is a good idea to see if you have a major problem, but don't sweat it if you're at 5.8 or 7.2. Instead of micromanaging the pH, focus your energy on improving the soil structure and fertility with compost, which naturally helps to buffer the pH and bring it closer to the neutral range over time. Alright, let's move on to one of the most common and damaging mistakes, fertilizer. This is where good intentions can go horribly wrong. Many gardeners think more is better, and they reach for a general-purpose, high-nitrogen vegetable fertilizer. This is a catastrophic error for carrots. Nitrogen, as you may know, promotes lush, green, leafy growth. When you give carrots a heavy dose of nitrogen, the plant puts all of its energy into producing a magnificent, beautiful, and impressive canopy of feathery green tops. You'll look at your carrot patch and think you're a gardening genius, but beneath the soil, a tragedy is unfolding. With all the energy directed upwards, the plant neglects its root. The result is a tiny, pale, and often hairy little carrot with a network of fine feeder roots. Because the high nitrogen encourages their growth, you've essentially told the plant to focus on its hair, not its body. When it comes to carrots, you must use a fertilizer that is low in nitrogen and higher in the other two key nutrients, which we'll discuss next. Avoid any fertilizer where the first number in the NPK ratio is the highest. Continuing on the topic of fertilizer, we have to talk about the tempting but terrible idea of using fresh manure. Many organic gardeners love using manure, and for good reason. It's full of nutrients and organic matter. However, for carrots, using fresh or poorly composted manure is a double disaster. First, just like high nitrogen chemical fertilizers, fresh manure is incredibly rich in nitrogen. As we just learned, this will give you beautiful tops and pathetic, hairy roots. The uneven texture and clumps in fresh manure can also cause physical obstructions, leading to forked and twisted carrots. But there's a second, even more sinister reason to avoid it. The smell of decomposing, nitrogen-rich organic matter is like a 5-star restaurant beacon for the single worst pest of carrots, the carrot rust fly. This fly hones in on these specific smells to find the perfect place to lay its eggs. By adding fresh manure to your carrot bed, you are essentially sending out a giant, fragrant invitation to every carrot fly in a 5-mile radius, asking them to come and destroy your crop. If you want to use manure, it absolutely must be fully composted, at least a year old, so it is stable, odourless, and has a fine soil-like texture. So if high nitrogen is the enemy, what do carrots actually need to eat to grow big and strong? The answer lies in the other two macronutrients, phosphorus and potassium, the P and the K in the NPK ratio. Phosphorus plays a vital role in early root development and overall plant energy transfer. It helps the seedling establish a strong initial taproot right from the start. Potassium is the real superstar for root crops. It's essential for the process of converting sugars from photosynthesis and storing them in the root. Think of potassium as the nutrient that inflates the carrot, making it swell and grow dense and sweet. A deficiency in potassium will result in small, weak carrots with poor flavour. So, when you prepare your carrot bed, you want to amend it with sources rich in these two elements. Excellent organic options include bone meal for a slow-release source of phosphorus and wood ash or green sand for potassium. A light dusting of each worked into the top 6 inches of soil before planting is all you need for the entire season. This gives the carrots the right kind of fuel to focus their energy where it matters, underground. Believe it or not, your success can be determined before you even open the seed packet. Choosing the right carrot variety for your specific conditions is a crucial step that many gardeners overlook. Not all carrots are created equal, They are generally categorized into several types, and each has its strengths and weaknesses. For example, imperator types are the very long, slender carrots you typically see in supermarkets, but they demand incredibly deep, loose, perfect soil. Trying to grow these in anything less will result in failure. If you have heavier or shallower soil, you should choose shorter, stockier varieties like Chantenay or Danvers. These types are more forgiving and have the power to push through less than ideal soil. Nantes types are a great all-around choice, cylindrical with a blunt tip, known for their sweetness and crisp texture. There are also round varieties like Paris Market that are perfect for very heavy clay soil or for growing in containers. Don't just grab the first packet you see. Read the description, note the days to maturity, and match the carrot type to the reality of your garden soil. This simple choice can make the difference between a frustrating harvest and a bountiful one. Now we get to the delicate act of sowing. It seems simple, but a common mistake is planting the seeds too deep. People are used to planting bean or corn seeds an inch or more down, but carrot seeds are tiny and have very limited energy reserves. If you bury them too deeply, the seedling will exhaust itself trying to reach the surface and will either die or emerge as a very weak plant that will never thrive. Furthermore, carrot seeds actually benefit from some light to trigger germination. The ideal sowing depth is incredibly shallow, only about 1/4 of an inch or 6 millimeters deep. A better method is to not make a furrow at all. Simply prepare your smooth seedbed, broadcast the seeds as evenly as possible on the surface, and then gently sift a very thin layer of fine soil, compost, or vermiculite over the top, just enough to cover them from view. After sowing, it's crucial to water very gently with a fine spray, as a strong jet of water can dislodge the shallowly sown seeds or bury them too deeply. Patience is also key. Carrots can be slow to germinate, sometimes taking up to 3 weeks, so keep the soil consistently moist but not waterlogged during this entire period. This next step is emotionally the hardest part of growing carrots, but it is absolutely 100% non-negotiable. I'm talking about thinning. Carrot seeds are tiny, making it nearly impossible to sow them at the perfect final spacing. You will always have way too many seedlings pop up, all crowded together in the row. It's tempting to leave them thinking more plants mean more carrots. This could not be more wrong. Carrots that are too crowded will engage in a fierce underground battle for light, water, and nutrients. They will not politely make room for each other. Instead, they will all remain small, underdeveloped, and will often twist around each other as they compete for space. You'll end up harvesting a tangled clump of spindly pale roots instead of the big, individual carrots you wanted. You must be ruthless. Your goal is to give each individual carrot plant enough room for its shoulders to swell and its root to develop fully without touching its neighbours. The pain of sacrificing dozens of healthy-looking seedlings is real, but it is the only path to a harvest of large, well-formed carrots. Remember, you're not just removing plants, you're choosing which ones get to become champions. So, how and when do you perform this heartbreaking but necessary task? The timing and technique of thinning are critical, not just for spacing, but for pest prevention. The best time to thin is when the seedlings are about 2 to 3 inches tall and have developed their first true leaves. At this stage, they are large enough to handle, but their roots are not yet developed enough to seriously disturb their neighbours when removed. Now, for the technique, do not simply pull the unwanted seedlings out of the ground. This action disturbs the soil around the roots of the carrots you're leaving behind, potentially stunting their growth. More importantly, pulling and crushing the carrot foliage releases a strong carrot scent into the air. This scent is the primary way that the dreaded carrot rust fly finds your patch. It's like ringing a dinner bell. The far better method is to use a small, sharp pair of scissors or snips. Identify the strongest looking seedling in a clump, and then snip the ones you want to remove right at the soil line. This leaves the roots of the thinned seedlings to decompose harmlessly in the soil, without disturbing the remaining plants, and crucially, without releasing that dangerous pest-attracting aroma. Aim for a final spacing of about 2 to 3 inches between each carrot plant. Let's formally meet the arch nemesis of your carrot patch, the carrot rust fly or Scilla rosea. Understanding this enemy is the key to defeating it. This is a small, black, shiny fly with a reddish head and yellow legs. It doesn't damage the carrot itself. The real damage is done by its larvae. The adult female fly, which flies very low to the ground, lays her eggs in the soil near the crown of the carrot plant. When these eggs hatch, tiny cream-coloured maggots emerge and begin to burrow into the carrot root. They feed on the root, creating a network of rusty-coloured or dark tunnels throughout the carrot, making it completely inedible and disgusting. The damage often isn't visible from the outside until you harvest the carrot and cut it open. The fly finds your carrots primarily by scent, homing in on the characteristic smell released by the foliage, especially when it's bruised or thinned. They are most active during 2 main periods in the growing season, late spring and again in late summer or early fall. Knowing their behaviour, their flight patterns and their life cycle is the first step in developing an effective, non-chemical defence strategy. Since the carrot rust fly is the primary pest, the single most effective way to stop it is to create a physical barrier it cannot cross. This is a simple, organic, and nearly foolproof method. The strategy relies on one key fact. The carrot fly is a weak, low-flying insect. It typically flies no more than 18 to 24 inches above the ground. Therefore, you can protect your crop by completely enclosing it with a fine insect mesh or a floating row cover. You can create a low tunnel using PVC hoops or a simple wooden frame over your carrot bed. The key is that the cover must be at least 2 feet, or about 60 centimetres, high. More importantly, the edges of the mesh must be completely sealed against the ground. You can't leave any gaps, bury the edges in the soil, or weigh them down securely with rocks or boards. You need to create a complete fortress that the flies cannot get into. This barrier should be put in place immediately after you sow the seeds and should remain on for the entire life of the crop, only being removed briefly for weeding or thinning. This one technique can virtually eliminate all carrot fly damage without a single drop of pesticide. If building a fortress isn't for you, or if you want to add a second layer of defence, you can employ some clever guerrilla warfare tactics using scent camouflage. Remember, the carrot fly finds its target by smelling the carrots. The strategy here is to confuse its sense of smell by interplanting your carrots with other, more pungent plants. This is the essence of companion planting for pest control. The best plants for this job are those in the allium family: onions, garlic, leeks, and chives. Their strong, sulphurous smell helps to mask the sweetest scent of the carrots, effectively making your carrot patch invisible to passing flies. You can plant a row of onions for every 1 or 2 rows of carrots. Strong-smelling herbs also work wonderfully. Rosemary and sage are excellent choices to plant around the border of your carrot bed. Some gardeners also swear by planting marigolds, as their distinct scent is thought to repel a variety of pests. This method isn't as foolproof as a physical barrier, but it significantly reduces the chances of an infestation and creates a healthier, more diverse garden ecosystem. Beyond just masking scents, some companion plants offer other strategic benefits, creating a synergistic aid team in your garden bed. Lettuce, for example, is a fantastic neighbour for carrots. It grows relatively quickly, and its broad leaves can act as a living mulch, shading the soil. This helps to keep the soil cool and moist, and it also suppresses weed growth, which is a major benefit for the slow-growing carrots. Similarly, planting fast-growing radishes in the same row as your carrots is a classic technique. The radishes germinate and grow quickly, loosening the soil, which makes it easier for the carrot roots to develop. You can harvest the radishes long before the carrots need the extra space. Legumes like bush beans and peas are also beneficial. They are nitrogen fixers, meaning they pull nitrogen from the air and store it in their roots in a form that other plants can use. While carrots don't need a lot of nitrogen, a small, steady natural supply is much better than a sudden dose of chemical fertilizer. By creating a diverse polyculture, you're not just confusing pests, you're building a healthier, more resilient, and more productive garden system. Another brilliant way to outsmart the carrot rust fly is to play a strategic game with your timing. Like many insects, the carrot fly has specific periods of peak activity based on temperature and time of year. There are typically 2 main generations per year. The first emerges in late spring, usually around May or early June, when the weather warms up. The second generation appears in late summer, often in August or September. You can use this knowledge to your advantage by adjusting your sowing schedule. For example, you could sow a crop very early in the spring, under the protection of a cloche or cold frame, so that the carrots are well established and growing strong before the first generation of flies even emerges. Alternatively, you can delay your main crop sowing until early summer, after the first generation of flies has finished its life cycle. This crop will then mature in the fall, and you can often harvest it before the second generation becomes a major problem. By avoiding these peak fly zones, you can significantly reduce the pest pressure on your crop without any barriers or sprays. It's about knowing your enemy and not showing up for the fight. Let's talk about water, a seemingly simple element that can cause major problems if mismanaged. The key to watering carrots is consistency. Carrots need a steady supply of moisture to grow evenly and develop their sweet flavour. The most common watering mistake is allowing the soil to dry out completely and then flooding it with a large amount of water. This cycle of drought and deluge sends a shock to the root system. When the dry, thirsty root is suddenly inundated with water, it tries to grow too quickly, causing the skin to expand faster than the inner core, which results in ugly vertical splits and cracks down the side of the carrot. To avoid this, you need to maintain even soil moisture throughout the growing season. This means watering deeply and regularly, ensuring the water penetrates at least 8 to 10 inches into the soil to encourage the root to grow downwards. A layer of mulch, like straw or shredded leaves, can be a huge help here. It insulates the soil, prevents it from drying out too quickly, and reduces the need for frequent watering. Check the soil with your finger. If it's dry an inch down, it's time for a good, deep soak. The war on weeds is one that every gardener must fight, but it is especially critical in the carrot patch. This isn't just about making your garden look tidy. Weeds are ruthless competitors, and young carrot seedlings are particularly vulnerable. Weeds will steal water, sunlight, and, most importantly, the precious nutrients that your carrots need to size up, because carrots are relatively slow to germinate and grow in their early stages. Fast-growing weeds can quickly overwhelm them, shading them out and stunting their growth before they even have a chance. A weedy patch will always result in a harvest of small, underdeveloped carrots. It's essential to keep the bed as weed-free as possible, especially for the first month or 2. Be careful when weeding, however. As we've discussed, disturbing the soil can damage the delicate carrot roots, and the smell of bruised foliage can attract pests. The best approach is to pull weeds when they are very small and the soil is moist. Alternatively, use a sharp hoe to slice them off at the soil level. A good layer of mulch applied after the carrots are a few inches tall can suppress the vast majority of weeds for the rest of the season. Have you ever harvested a beautiful carrot only to find that the top part, the shoulder sticking out of the ground, is green and bitter? This is a very common issue, and thankfully, it has a very simple solution. That green colour is chlorophyll. It forms when the top of the carrot root is exposed to sunlight, causing it to photosynthesize just like the leaves. This process can also lead to the production of a bitter-tasting compound called solanine, similar to what happens when potatoes turn green. While a small amount is not harmful, it definitely ruins the flavour of that part of the carrot. The fix is incredibly easy. You just need to keep the carrot shoulders covered and in the dark. As your carrots grow and the roots begin to swell, they can sometimes push themselves up and out of the soil. Periodically check your carrot patch, and if you see the tops of the carrots becoming exposed, simply mound a little soil or compost up and around them. This is a classic gardening technique known as earthing up. A layer of mulch spread around the base of the plants will also do the job perfectly, keeping the shoulders protected from the sun and ensuring every inch of your carrot is sweet and delicious. After all your hard work, the final moment arrives, the harvest. But how do you know exactly when to pull your carrots? Harvesting at the perfect time is key to getting the best flavour and texture. The days to maturity listed on the seed packet is a good guideline, but it's not a strict rule. The best way to check for readiness is to gently brush away the soil from around the top of 1 or 2 carrots to inspect their shoulders. You are looking for a root that has developed a good, rich colour and has reached a diameter of at least ½ inch to 1 inch, depending on the variety. Don't assume that bigger is always better. If you leave carrots in the ground for too long after they've reached maturity, they can become tough, woody, and less sweet as they convert their sugars into starch. They also become a bigger target for soil pests. When it's time to harvest, if your soil is loose and sandy, you might be able to pull them straight out by the tops. However, it's always safer to loosen the soil alongside the row with a garden fork first. This prevents the tops from breaking off and leaving your precious carrots stuck in the ground. Your success doesn't end when the carrot comes out of the ground. The final mistake to avoid is improper storage. If you just pull your carrots and toss them in the fridge, you'll be disappointed to find them limp and rubbery within a week. The reason for this is the green, feathery tops. As long as they are attached, the leaves will continue to pull moisture and nutrients out of the root, trying to stay alive. This is what causes the carrot to go soft so quickly. Therefore, the very first thing you must do immediately after harvesting is to remove the tops. You can twist them off by hand or cut them with a knife, leaving about 1 inch of stem. Do not wash the carrots yet. For short-term storage, they can now be placed in a plastic bag in the refrigerator. For long-term winter storage, the best method is to pack them in a container, like a wooden crate or a cardboard box, filled with a damp medium like sand, sawdust, or peat moss. Layer the carrots so they aren't touching each other. This keeps them in a high humidity environment, preventing moisture loss and keeping them crisp and sweet for months. So there you have it. The secret to perfect carrots isn't a magical fertilizer or a secret chant. It's about understanding what a carrot truly wants, an unobstructed path, the right kind of food, and protection from its mortal enemy. The most crucial takeaway is that the vast majority of the work happens before you even plant the seed. It's in the meticulous preparation of that light, fluffy, debris-free soil. If you get the soil right, and you remember to be ruthless when thinning, and you create a simple barrier to keep out that pesky fly, you are 99% of the way to the best carrot harvest of your life. It's not about luck, it's about knowledge and preparation. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope this guide helps you grow huge, straight, and delicious carrots this year. If you found this helpful, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dive gardening guides. Now, I have a question for you. What has been your single biggest struggle when trying to grow carrots in the past? Let me know in the comments below. Let's solve these problems together.